going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be finally bringing you a set of All-Madden sliders that have worked out really well so far on Madden 24 within franchise mode. To be quite honest with you, the base gameplay for Madden 24 is pretty solid from just a basic perspective. It still has not fixed a lot of the gameplay issues that I've been concerned with over the past few years, but that doesn't mean that we can't get a somewhat satisfying experience, a somewhat realistic experience through the sliders. And really, you don't have to do a whole lot to player skill. So running through player skill first, quarterback accuracy set at 54. I could see this going either way. This really does not have to be messed with a whole lot. I've noticed quarterbacks feel a little bit more realistic depending on who you're using. If you're using a better end quarterback, you're going to see more accurate passes, and if you're using a 80-ish overall quarterback, you're going to see a lot more inaccurate throws. Pass blocking is set to 58, and that's again similar to last year, where we're trying to tone down the pass rush for the opposing team a little bit. I don't know that I 100% love 58. I might consider taking this down closer to 55, but again, it's one of those things where you kind of have to make an adjustment. If you make an adjustment too far, then you really kind of nerf the pass rush, and if you don't adjust it far enough, you really don't see any change at all. Wide receiver catching to 55, that's been actually pretty helpful to see a few more of those passes hauled in, and this also helps to compensate for the fact that receivers are still not coded to attack the football. They're still not coded to play the way that they should, and therefore your catching is going to be a little bit subpar unless you turn this up a bit. Run blocking set to 55, ball security set to 55. It's actually interesting that they changed this slider to say ball security now. To be honest with you, I haven't seen much reason to change this at all. This is more just experimental than anything to see if it still operates the same way. So we have it set to 55 right now. I really didn't notice many issues on 50 either. Pass defense reaction time set to 55, interceptions down to 30. I feel like this might be a little bit low this year, believe it or not. Pass coverage set to 55, and then tackling set to 60. This is a big one. There are a lot of broken tackles, surprisingly, even on simulation gameplay. Our settings are set to All-Madden sim gameplay. I thought about maybe changing over to like an arcade or a competitive and testing out some sliders on that, because you are going to get more realistic wide receiver play on arcade, but then we would have to really drastically change the sliders. So for simulation All-Madden, this is the way to go for right now. You really don't have to make any crazy adjustments to the user play. For CPU play, we have quarterback accuracy set to 30, pass blocking set to 48, wide receiver catching set to 48, run blocking all the way down to 20, and they are still very effective at running the football. Ball security set to 45, pass defense reaction time set to 30, interceptions all the way down to 15, pass coverage set to 40, and tackling set to 44. So as you can see, that these CPU sliders are going to be a bit more forgiving. Now, to be honest with you, the base gameplay against the CPU is not the worst. They are a little bit more difficult in some areas than they have been in the past, but quarterbacks, even on the base accuracy, do miss passes more often than they did in the past. So you can toy with these as you will, but this is what we're playing with on right now, and this is actually giving us a fairly realistic completion percentage, giving us fairly realistic catching percentages, run blocking, and those types of things. And the CPU has been able to put up a battle in most of the games that we've seen so far. In fact, we've actually seen some users losing to the CPU on these sliders nonetheless. And then we move down to our field goal power, which we have set to 47, and I still hit a 60-yarder on this 47 field goal power. So it's the same issue that it has been before. For some reason, they give you way too much leg in these games. Field goal accuracy set to 40. Have seen no issues with this so far. I might even consider dropping this further because field goal accuracy is a little bit too easy, to be honest with you. Punt power up to 60 to make it a little bit more realistic. 40 punt accuracy, and kickoff power at 55 so that more of those are going into the end zone. From the game options side of things, we have injury set to 10. I'm thinking this is a little bit too low because we're not experiencing very many issues, but then again, I have not found the sweet spot on injuries. Fatigue set to 50, minimum player speed threshold set to 50. We are getting to adjusting these and figuring out where we want these to be. I'd imagine fatigue is going to be better off set up somewhere closer to 70 like it has been in past years. Injuries are probably going to be better off set somewhere up closer to 25 or 30 like they have been in past years. That's just going to give you a more realistic realistic effect, but we have not really gotten to a point where we felt like we've needed to adjust these necessarily. I think fatigue is one that is starting to stick out to me a little bit, that the players are not rotating in as much as we would like based off of the fatigue. Minimum player speed threshold, I've not noticed an issue. The game plays a little bit slower this year, so I've not noticed an issue where we need to compensate for one thing in one direction or the other. Quarterbacks that are supposed to be able to be mobile feel a little bit good outside of the pocket, moving around, so there's nothing that we've seen that we really needed to adjust. And then the other thing that I've noticed this year is that with all of these penalty sliders, you actually get more penalties by adjusting the sliders just a little bit. So offsides up to 55, false start up to 55, holding up to 65, and we're noticing a lot of holding penalties, 55 face mask, and then everything else is just set to base. And there are no glitches this year where you have to turn off roughing the kicker or whatever it might be, or kick catch interference or any of those types of things where there's been glitches in the past. So these sliders are fairly straightforward. I would recommend using these for a little bit and see if you want to make any adjustments to them. Certainly this is not going to be the last set of sliders that I come up with or that we utilize, and this is actually credit to my buddy Tyler Mahler, Cash and Checks 5923, who installed these sliders for us, and we've been playing on them. I would like to tweak these a little bit more as I get more time to play with the game, but generally these sliders have been pretty good, pretty fun, pretty solid, pretty competitive against both users and CPUs. So I'll be curious to see how that holds up as Madden progresses and they update the game as well. Hopefully though you guys enjoyed, hopefully you guys have tested out some sliders yourselves. Leave your feedback down below as far as what you guys are using slider wise. Are you playing on the base game? What do you think of the base game, especially on simulation? And have you guys tried any other game style or anything like that? I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video as always, and I hope you guys have a good one.